Let me give you two examples of these rhythms. The first one is here. So just put your hand here on your chest for a second. How much attention do you pay to this thing, to your heart? This is, of course, a very important thing. It's the engine room for everything else that happens. But we're often not so conscious of this thing beating in a busy professional day. So this can beat 150,000 times or more every single day. Each beat of our heart comes in the form of a wave. And we've talked about measurement in the first element, talked about sophisticated technology to measure. You can measure your heart rate with a heart rate monitor. But you can very simply measure your heart, your resting pulse, by taking two fingers and putting it to this part on your neck. So let's do this measurement now. I'm going to give you a count of 10 seconds and we'll measure your resting heart rate at this moment. Okay, you ready? So take two fingers, put it to this part on the neck, okay? And starting now. Stop. So that's 10 seconds times by 6, and this is your resting heart rate at this moment. Maybe you have 50, 60, 70, we're all different. A good level to aim for, a good signal of heart health is to have your resting below 60. Don't be alarmed if it's a little bit higher just now. Your true authentic resting heart rate is when you first wake up in the morning. So when you wake up in the morning, maybe take a couple of fingers to this part on your neck, times it over 6 seconds or 10 or whatever to get that number of beats over a minute and get to know what your normal is. If you can get it below 60, fantastic. If you do more physical exercise, you will decrease your resting heart rate because your body doesn't have to work as hard to pump blood around your body and maintain that homeostasis. So a lower heart rate is a signal of better physical health, better physical fitness, but also getting to know what your normal resting is a nice measure to have. It's a barometer to your present state of health. When we are tired, we generally have a resting heart rate 5 beats above the normal. If we are really fatigued and at danger of coming down with a virus or something like this, then we will find that our resting is 10 beats above normal. So getting to know what your normal is gives you insight to your present state of health. If you find it's a little bit high, maybe you can take some remedial action, take an extra hour in bed, take some simple drugs like paracetamol. It saves you taking that extra week off work if you really become sick. So elite athletes will take their resting heart rate before an important training session, before competition. Now look, I'm not saying that you take your resting heart rate before a meeting and you say, hey, it's too high, I'm going to cancel this meeting, this is ridiculous, right? But just getting to know what your normal is through a busy week can give you better insight into your present state of health and gives you better insight into your recovery. So one example of rhythms is our heart, and another example is here in our head. So let's look at this graphic. This is the graphic of my sleep, of my brain waves essentially in October 2012. This was measured by a real pioneer of the quantified self movement, a company called Zeo, which unfortunately doesn't exist anymore. But this allowed us to measure our sleep at night. So it's very interesting looking at this graphic. There's two main things that I want to pull out. First of all, we measure different phases of sleep. We measure REM, or rapid eye movement, which is a shallow phase of sleep. This is where we dream. And this is important because this is when our mind recovers from all of the activity, conversations, emails, all these things going on during the day. And sleep scientists believe that dreaming is a way of putting all of these things in order. Deep sleep is, of course, a much deeper phase of sleep, is when our body recovers from the physical exertions of the day. And then we have this intermediary phase between REM and deep. So the first thing that you'll see is that we don't just sleep and progressively sleep deeper through the night and then go towards shallow sleep in the morning, but rather we go in and out of these phases of REM and deep as we go through the night. These are cycles or rhythms which were identified in the seminal sleep research around the 1950s as being ultradian rhythms. So again, demonstrates that we are rhythmic human beings and we have to pay attention to these rhythms not just at night but also during the day. These rhythms are a part of us during the day. The second thing from this sleep graph is thinking about deep sleep. So as we saw in the first video, if we sit all day, sure, we still get tired, but often we're not sufficiently physically tired. So sometimes if we're sitting all day, we go to bed, even if we spend 8 or 9 hours in bed, we may not get sufficient deep sleep. We stay within this REM and intermediary phase, so our body doesn't recover. And then when we wake up in the morning, we still feel tired. So this is another incentive to move more during the day. When we move more, when we exercise, we make our body more tired and we get a higher percentage of deep sleep during the night. And research has shown this. People who do more physical exercise get a higher percentage of deep sleep during the night. They recover more deeply and they feel more refreshed when they wake up in the morning. So that's another means of recovery. It's actually moving sufficiently through the day.